Okay, so in our first two videos, we talked about what it means to go to the cloud and why customers go to the cloud. Now in this video, we're going to focus on how you get there. What are the techniques and strategies to move a client into the cloud safely and securely so that they can fully take advantage of what the cloud offers? Hi, my name is Stephen Joseph, and I'm the president and founder of EvoStream Communications. As a full-service IT solutions provider, many of our customers know why they want to go to the cloud, but they're not sure how to get to the cloud. Usually the way we handle this is a full-service IT assessment and feasibility study. So we take a look at all of their applications, their current networking infrastructure, and what their investment in inventory looks like today. And then we evaluate and provide a full recommendation and design on how a customer would move to the cloud. But today we're going to talk about sort of the basic techniques. So we're going to break these down into kind of three categories. The first category is going to be the simplest. It's called the lift and shift. The second category is going to be called replatforming. And the third technique is going to be called refactoring. So let's start with the lift and shift model. So with a lift and shift, you're basically taking your on-premise based applications and you're dropping them into a cloud environment. This could be something like data center on demand or utility computing, stadium computing type of model. Sometimes they're called bare metal, but essentially it's infrastructure as a service. So you're paying a service provider to host those applications in their cloud or their environment, but you're not modifying the application in any way. You're simply lifting and shifting that application into the utility model. So this is the easiest way to move to the cloud. However, there are some challenges. So what are the pros and cons of taking the lift and shift approach to moving to the cloud? Well, one of the pros is that it's probably the simplest and easiest way to do so. It doesn't require any coding, any refactoring, and it doesn't require re-architecture or design work. Ultimately, you're taking the applications as they are today. You're simply taking them off of your servers and putting them onto a service provider's servers. Now, what are the cons? Well, the main con is that if you don't do the proper design and architecture and change the way applications work, you won't be able to take full advantage of cloud platforms and microservices. So that's really one of the disadvantages. Another disadvantage is customers that just move the applications as they are to the cloud without making them more cloud-centric usually suffer from challenges with reducing their costs. Cloud services are consumption-based, so oftentimes if you have certain requirements or storage is not optimized, applications may not perform as well if you take a lift and shift approach. But what often happens is, depending on timelines and budgeting and where you are in your cycle of purchasing new equipment, the lift and shift makes the most sense and can be sort of a stage one in a full migration strategy. Okay, so the second strategy that we use when we move customers to the cloud is called replatforming. So replatforming is sort of an in-between from a rehosting strategy and a full refactoring strategy. Refactoring does require some modifications to your environment in order to take advantage of cloud infrastructure. But usually they're minimal modifications. An example of this might be changing the way an application interacts with a database. And again, there are pros and cons of this replatforming method. One of the pros of this method is it's fairly cost efficient. Replatforming is not going to require, again, a ton of design and engineering work in order to move you to the cloud. It is going to give you the ability to take advantage of some of the cloud services, the elasticity of the cloud, and ultimately, as we said before, it may just be one step towards a full, cloud refactoring strategy. So that sort of brings us to the third technique that we'll talk about, and one that we often recommend to customers that have the time and resources, and that's refactoring. Now, refactoring is where you try to make the applications as close to cloud native as possible. So you're taking an application and you're going to redesign that application and re-engineer that application to be totally optimized in the cloud. Now, this can require some real architecture design work. It can require coding. And again, this is a very intensive process. So you need to have proper time to do the migration and you really need to have the proper resources. So there again are pros and cons. One we just mentioned is it's very time sensitive and intensive as far as resources go. Environments where you have a very technical staff usually are those that are primed to do a refactoring. But here are the pros. If you're truly going to take advantage of the cloud, refactoring is going to give you the ability to really optimize your environment and take full advantage of all of the qualities we talked about in our first video that are really key to digital transformation. So again, if a customer is going to want to truly optimize their environment, long-term reduce their cost footprint, and take advantage of analytics capabilities, automation capabilities, and microservices in the cloud, we normally recommend full refactoring of their applications and software. Now again, usually you'll want to bring in a trusted advisor or third party. In these situations, we assign cloud architects to help their clients or do the redesign for them. Refactoring, again, is sort of an intense process and requires multiple resources to be focused on the redesign before we actually move the applications to the cloud. Now, when it comes to optimization, certain applications just won't perform well in the cloud unless they're refactored. And we always recommend you take a step-by-step approach when you are migrating to the cloud. So you want to pilot certain applications, you want to test them out, you want to bring things up in the cloud before you decommission your data center. You want to make sure things are going to perform well, because ultimately what customers may end up in is more of a hybrid model where they say, you know what, we're going to have to leave this application on-prem, or we're going to move it to, a data center, and that data center is going to be the on-ramp for our cloud ecosystem, right? So there are many different strategies, and this sort of boils them down into three categories to actually migrate to the cloud. And again, we recommend a feasibility study before you take on this initiative, full IT assessment to understand not only how your applications work, but how your network services those applications, and what redesign is going to be required from a network architecture and an application architecture in order to get the best performance, reliability, and ultimately investment out of the cloud. Again, thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate anyone who's watched all of the videos in this three-part series. I hope they were helpful. And I always appreciate any feedback, comments, likes, and shares on the post. You can always contact me directly. I'll leave my full information on my LinkedIn profile. So again, thanks for tuning in, and look forward to our next video together.